Hello, everybody. It's Laurie White, President of the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, back again with another edition of Chamber TV. This is episode number 138. We've had a great run and looking forward to doing a whole lot more in the coming weeks as the fall session begins to populate, and we have a lot of great guests lined up for you now that everybody's almost done with their vacation. But today we have an interesting topic, a fabulous topic, and I think it's a topic that everybody can relate to, because who hasn't either read or created an online review for a business? And this is something that has taken on increasing significance and importance over the last few years as online reviews become really a staple of the digital marketing portfolio. So today, that's what we're talking about: how to position your business so that you are most favorably treated by online reviewers, what you can do if you unfortunately are stuck with a less than favorable online review, and as a trusted business, how do you make sure that you convey that you are a trusted business professional with whom folks could feel really comfortable doing business with. So with that, let me introduce our subject matter expert. Tom Canterino is the founder and president of LevelUp Digital Marketing Solutions. And he's been with us before. He is a phenomenal presenter. We're really excited to have him back again today with a different topic. And he is truly someone that you can turn to for trusted information and advice. So welcome, Tom. Great to see you again. Hope your summer's going well.
Yeah, thank you, Laurie, and thanks to everyone for being on this webinar today and for inviting me back. I'm very excited to begin talking about online reviews and reputation management and how we can try to streamline that process for local businesses. So let's get started. The main things that we'll cover on this call today are really how we streamline and effortlessly get new 5-star reviews that are real and authentic, essentially on autopilot, really without bugging customers, without nagging your staff, and essentially putting something in place to make sure we are kind of gatekeeping any negative reviews that might get put on any of our online directories. And we'll also cover the 3 big reasons why our customers don't leave reviews, and some proven strategies on gathering more reviews and attracting new customers. And I'll also share with you a tool that is available and out there, one tool that could be in your toolbox, and I'll share some of those features and whatnot. So next slide, please. So as many of you guys know, we've really seen a huge change over the past 5 years in really the power of the consumer's voice, in which it has on essentially every business. So this voice can really mean the difference between a business that thrives and one that struggles, more or less. Next slide, please. And so the concept of reputation essentially is nothing new, right? But with the evolution of smartphone technology and the subsequent increase in consumer adoption of online reviews, the power of reputation has really been amplified dramatically. I always like to say a really pivotal change occurred in 2004 with the launch of Yelp. And all of a sudden, consumers started flocking there to leave reviews for local businesses that they interact with. And it didn't take long for Google and Facebook to enter the online review space, leading to really the mainstream adoption of online reviews. And today, as we all know, reviews are really unmissable. So next slide, please. So to that point, really the last 3 years, we've seen an immense growth in the number of reviews left by consumers. The U.S. alone has seen a growth of over 600%, really showing that consumers now more than ever are reading and are leaving reviews. So again, these just paint a good picture that it's really clear that online reviews are only going to help build, are going to build in importance over the coming years. Next slide. So and then also the latest research really showcases just how crucial online reputation is for consumers. 97% of folks search online to find a local business, and 95% of consumers read online reviews for local businesses across all the different industries and all the different channel segments. So this just shows how integral online search and reputation management are to the modern consumer's buying journey and buying habits. Next slide. And then, although a lot of business owners care about their reputation, sadly, not all spend enough time evaluating them online. So with so many eyes on every business's online reviews today, the stakes have risen dramatically. In the past, customer feedback would be temporary and often limited to their local circle. We now really live in a world where a single piece of feedback can essentially be seen by anyone who looks at your business online. And these comments will likely stay there forever. And they can be seen not only in our local area, but they can also be seen throughout the entire state, throughout the entire nation, and essentially globally as well. Next slide. So we can break down the role of online reviews in the buyer's journey into 3 aspects. And those really primarily are discover, evaluate, and trust. Next slide. So the first stage is discovery. So having more positive online reviews, you really have a better chance of ranking higher in local searches on Google and on other sites. This means essentially new potential customers are more likely to find your business when they're actively searching for a solution that they're trying to find when they're searching for a problem that they're trying to find a solution for. Next slide. And then the next stage is the journey. In the journey is evaluation. So your customers might be evaluating you on Google, on Yelp, or on a niche specific directory for any given industry. As a potential customer evaluates your listing and star ratings, they're also evaluating your customers as well. More often than not, they will reach out to the business with the best reputation. And really the benefit of online reviews is twofold. Your reviews are making you rank higher, and then they're also getting you more clicks and calls than your competitors. Next slide, please. And then finally, online reviews build trust in abundance. A business with a great online reputation will establish great trust with a prospect before they've even spoken to them. So imagine your reviews are really selling themselves. We've had folks that have primarily come to work with our agency because of the reviews that we have on Google and elsewhere, and we essentially don't need to have to rely on anyone's kind of recommendation or referral, because our customers are already going out and they are leaving us reviews on the platforms that matter most to us. So not only will any given business rank higher and get more clicks, but customers will be easier to sell to and more likely to buy more from you because of your online reviews and because the trust was really already established, really without you having to do any hard selling upfront, if you will. Next slide. And then, so the one thing you can't control is how your potential customers find you. Consumers are using really more sites now than ever. And that's even so important as you work out what sites your target market is searching on and focus. And you really have to focus on building out a solid reputation on each one of those. Google is obviously the most important one to start with, but consider how a prospect might research your business and what your reviews may and may not say. Next slide. So with everything we've looked at so far, we know that reviews really hold a great deal of power for a business. But the truth is that businesses are actually at a huge disadvantage because an unhappy customer is far more likely to leave a review unprompted than a happy customer. It's an unfair fight from the get-go, essentially. Next slide. So here, we'll take a look at an example of a business that's managing their online reputation. You can see here that Jimmy's Plumbing has a total of 3 reviews with an average star rating of 3.7 out of 5 stars. And we would say that's not all that bad. It's nearly 4 stars. So one would think that that would be quote unquote ideal. Next slide. But essentially, the research tells us that is the exact opposite. Nearly 60% of consumers won't use a business with fewer than 4 stars. And even if they contacted him with less than 10 reviews, it's going to be tough for him to build trust with whomever he speaks to. Today's consumers want to choose a business with lots of great reviews that have been posted recently. We know one of Google's, the way that they look at one of their trust factors and trust signals is not only the average star rating, but how recent the reviews are coming in. Google wants to see at least 2 new reviews on any given month in order to make sure that you're feeding their trust signals, and you're going to essentially, after all, rank higher in the search engines. Next slide, please. So that being said, by not having a solid reputation strategy is essentially, it's a chance that you might be losing potential clients or customers and revenue day after day, while any potential or any competitors that are out there with a solid strategy will really pull further away from you. Next slide, please. So here is just a quick question. So what I've done here is we did a search. I put on screen a search for essentially Dallas landscaping, and this is the results that come up. We got 3 results here, and this is what we see called the local map pack. We can see there's number 1, number 2, number 3. And based off what we see here, and I don't know about you all, but based on all the information and me comparing and contrasting some of the different businesses out here, I believe, you can go to the next slide, that about 90% of searchers will pick Scapes. And the crazy thing is, you would pick Scapes solely because they have the highest star rating. They have the highest star rating and the most reviews out there as well. And the funny thing about this story is, so this was a client that we were working with a few years back. The client that we were working with was actually Roundtree Landscaping, and we said that now, in order for us to compete against some of the competitors, we knew that we needed to start at the foundations of any given marketing. And we consider those foundations your review and reputation, and then also your web presence. Because if Roundtree Landscaping wanted to spend a bunch of money on driving people to their website or to their Google My Business page, essentially what was happening is their ad dollars were being spent on their competitors, because people were going shopping, and then they were seeing that there was other options out there. So we knew that in order to have success, that we really needed to start to beef out their review and reputation before we wanted to put any paid media dollars in place. Next slide, please. And then furthermore, Google is always changing. So I don't know if anyone has noticed this in our area yet, but Google has really made it a lot easier to sort Google My Business listings and map listings by average star ratings. So Google is presenting different search results to a consumer searching by providing what's known as search keywords. So simply by putting the word best in front of any given search term or category, Google is going to automatically show you a drop down. And if you see here, you can see right when you put the word best in, you can start searching by or filtering by the average star rating. So if you only want to see the businesses with the 4+, you can do so now. This is essentially in the past month or so, Google has rolled this out, this change. And it has hit our market in the past few weeks. So just know that that's a new feature that's out there as well. So essentially, businesses that leave review generation and don't have something in place are really taking a chance and taking a risk that they will be left out of the search results entirely if consumers start searching for only the 4.0s and above, or even 4.5 stars and above. Next slide, please. And so there's a lot of things that are important when it comes to evaluating a business. And these are key factors inside of Google, what Google takes inside of for their ranking signals. So they use a bunch of different key factors to essentially try to show the best business to the ones that are searching for any given person. So it's not only the average star rating, it's not only the total number of reviews or lack thereof, but it's also the review frequency. It's the average ratings across multiple sites. It's how a business responds to any potential negative reviews. And they even go as far as the sentiment of those reviews. So sentiment being, of course, Google is just a robot, and they're going to be combing everyone's website and web pages. So they're reading the reviews as well, and they're pulling out those keywords, the good, the mean. They're pulling out names. They're pulling out a bunch of different factors that essentially all roll up into the overall review signal that Google is utilizing to rank your business. Next slide, please. And so the thing that reviews influence all leads them to they influence greater than a personal referral. Next slide, please. And this slide really shows how most people think it works. This is really the map of our mind, right? That we get leads from referrals from the Greater Providence Chamber, from advertising on TV and radio and websites and Facebook and Google and newspapers. And at the end of the day, they are all very credible and very important sources to get leads. But we have to remember that essentially they're not all just going to instantly drive to our business. So on the next slide, we'll show this is essentially how it really works, right? So we're utilizing all those different tactics on the left-hand side to attract more eyes, more awareness to our business, to our website. But then what's going to happen is the consumer is going to go shopping. They're going to go to your website. They're going to go to your Facebook. They're going to go to your Google. They're going to go to your Facebook and Google reviews. They might go to your Yelp page. They might go to an industry specific website and look at your reviews there. And then once they made some sort of analysis, if you will, then they're going to go start shopping. So they're going to, if you look on the next slide, we show what a bunch of folks are doing. So this again is the Roundtree example. So when we put in all of these, when they put in a search term for landscaping in Dallas, Texas, and if they think that utilizing all these different marketing tactics are going to just drive them to directly to their business, it's essentially going to drive them 70% of the time in a local market, especially for a localized service business. They're driving you to the local map pack. And that's where the problem can essentially lie, because then people have the opportunity to start shopping around. And as you can see here, our client Roundtree was missing out on some opportunities. So we knew that before we wanted to try to scale some of their marketing efforts, that we needed to really get them a reputation strategy in place so we can just outshine their competitors. So once we do utilize all these great referrals from the chamber and from if we're doing Facebook or newspaper or print or radio or what have you, that all of those paid media dollars we're maximizing them. So we're not just going to be spending marketing dollars for those that client to potentially go to a competitor. Next slide, please. So here's where we can kind of justify how many potential opportunities that Roundtree is missing. So we look here that when we do a search for Dallas landscaping, we know that if you go to the next slide, that there is an average of 880 searches in Google per month. And if you go to the next slide, and essentially, if we quantify that across the year, that's about 10,560 searches that happen every year for that term, just Dallas landscaping, not even counting all the different variations that surround that specific keyword. And if you go to the next slide, and what it really is 10,560 potential customers per year that they're driving toward a competitor, when they could really take a simple step to solve that. And next slide. And so that's what I am trying to help local businesses really understand, that this is a lot about connecting with. It's what you're essentially missing. There's already people coming to you, but they're making a different decision as soon as they get right in front of your doorstep. And that's the thing. They're calling Scapes instead of Roundtree. Next slide, please. And what's the average dollar sale for landscaping, right? I mean, it can be anywhere from $100 a month to $500 or to a few $1,000s. So you guys can do the math. It adds up pretty quickly. Next slide, please. So, and the question is really, how many customers essentially would it take for Roundtree to recapture just to justify addressing this issue? I would imagine it's probably just one or maybe two. Probably one client, one new landscaping backyard could probably justify putting a simple strategy in place. Next slide. And really, businesses assume they've done all they can to get reviews. Next slide, please. And then common strategies we've seen people ask are they simply just ask their happiest customer. I hear it time and time again when I'm out and about or when I'm at any type of networking meetups that people are always talking so highly about the folks that they're working with. Maybe they had a great experience. I heard just the other day, someone in one of my other networking groups, Rosemary was telling another gentleman, Howard, how awesome his guys were for the service that they provided, and essentially, you couldn't have just asked for that. But the thing is, would she have remembered to do it if she wasn't asked, right? And we can train our employees and our team members to ask people. We can provide awesome service just so it happens naturally. And also, we can bug all of our friends and be like, "Hey, buddy, leave me quick. Can you go and quickly leave me a review?" And we can also make it a step in our visitation or when we're leaving a client's house, if we're doing a service call. We can stand up here and say, "Hey, I hope you had a great service from us. Here are a way, if you can leave us a quick review, that would be so helpful." Next slide, please. And then next slide again, please. And what happens is the reviews, essentially, they never come, right? And why? Next slide. And these really are some of the biggest reasons, right? So it's, I don't have time, I forgot, and I don't know how, right? Those are the biggest, when we were doing all of our case study analysis, these are the three biggest gleaming factors of kind of all the sticky pain points. Next slide, please. So lots of businesses really assume that there really isn't a way to solve this and try to streamline and try to get the headache off of their plate. Business owners have a lot of things going on. So the last thing that a business owner really wants to concentrate and worry about is, oh, I just had a great experience with a client. I forgot to leave them a review. There are ways to solve around that, because at the end of the day, it really should be a streamlined process, because it just makes everyone's lives so much easier, so much happier, and there's a lot more impact that goes along with it. Next slide, please. And we know that there are a lot of folks that essentially give up on finding a solution. There's a lot of businesses out there that have been in business for 5, 10, 20 years that, believe it or not, still have no reviews or no rankings or no reviews on any type of review platform, if you will, out there. And it begs the question as, one, is there an issue with the business? Or two, they're simply just not, they're not caring and not asking, if you will. Next slide, please. But so to that point, there actually are some simple things that you can do to make it really easy, to make it quick and convenient, and remind folks to leave a review as well. And make it easy is really the most important part of everything. Next slide, please. So as I said, let's start with making it easy, right? So for those of you, I know that there are some people that are on this call that do utilize one of the tools in the the reputation review and reputation toolbox, if you will, which I'm going to walk you through some of that functionality and some of the different ways in which that you can streamline your review and reputation strategy. Next slide. So one solution is a solution that that our agency actually built in-house, and it's called Review Lead. And we essentially built this reputation manager Review Lead really for businesses who want to be in control of their online reputation. Next slide. So, and the platform works by simply asking customers to leave reviews on the most important sites, driving to help your online reputation performance forward. Next slide. So there's a layer of intelligence to the platform, if you will. The first step is an NPS survey, which is a customer satisfaction score that essentially asks them to rate their experience from 1 to 10. Next slide. And if the customer has had a good experience, they're prompted to leave a review online on Google, or again on any of the other sites that are deemed most important to you, Yelp, Better Business Bureau, or all the different industry review platforms. There's about 180 to 200 review sites out there as well. Next slide. And then if someone has a negative experience and is unhappy with the service provided, then the platform apologizes and can automatically do things like, one, it can offer a discount to try and recover the relationship with the customer. And essentially now we still need them to leave an option. We still need to leave them with an option to leave a review in order to stay within Google's guidelines. But there are steps in place to try and negate the customer's frustrations before they go public with a review. Next slide. So in terms of how the platform can reach out to your customers, there's a few options, right? The first is to simply email them directly, which involves getting a list of your customers' email addresses and uploading them to the platform, which then emails your customers directly to leave a review or to leave their feedback. The first step is to gauge if they had a good experience, because that's really where we're more or less gatekeeping them to that next step. If they clicked, they had a 1 to a 7, our system is going to say, oh, they had a less than perfect review. So that's when we're going to prompt them with an offer. And we're going to prompt them with some sort of a feedback form so they can send their feedback to the business owner without having to worry about that review ever getting on Google or any of the other search engines or directory sites, if you will. Next slide. One of the other options is to start the process remotely. And this is really a good alternative if if you're a business owner that doesn't store customers' email addresses or doesn't feel comfortable providing email addresses into the database. And this works by taking a web link from our service and then adding this link anywhere you engage with your customers. This could be at the bottom of your email signature or really in any emails that are already being sent out in maybe a news blast, etc. And you can really add the link to your website, to receipts, to invoices, business cards, or even text it to customers so they can fill it out on their smartphones. Next slide, please. And then another way is what we call a feedback loop, is a kiosk mode. So really this is useful if you work in an industry with face-to-face interaction. At the end of a customer experience, you can simply present the feedback webpage to the customer via a tablet, or if you have a waiting room, you can put a laptop in there, or again another tablet or whatnot, with the feedback page loaded and up. So it really essentially always has that clear call to action. And again, it's going to be that NPS score. So it's going to say 1 to 10. And if it's anything, if it's an 8, 9, or 10, it's going to prompt them for a next step to leave a review. And if it's anything below a 7, it's going to prompt them with an offer or with a feedback form. Next slide, please. And then a few of the other features that we built in are we embed a review us now button directly on web pages as well. And then when someone was to click that, next page, please. What will happen is it will populate what looks what we see currently on screen. So it's a very simple question. Did they have a thumbs up experience or did they have a thumbs down experience? If they click they had a thumbs up experience, you can go to the next slide. Thumbs up experience will open up a window that on the next slide, which is we're going to show them a list of sites where we want them to leave a review. So these are sites that we chose because we know that we want to have reviews attached to all those different directories, if you will. So again, if you're a doctor, maybe we want to add in health grades. If you're a senior care provider, we can put care.com, or we can put a place for mom. If you're a lawyer, there's lawyers.com, etc. So we work with about 200 different review platforms. So essentially, we have an integration with more or less pretty much all of them, if you will. And then essentially, someone clicks on the Google. Say for instance, they click on the Google button. If you go to the next slide, it's going to immediately open up where they need to leave that review. They're going to be brought right instantly to Google. They're going to be able to have the 5-star rating. They can write their text. They press post, and all the headache, frustration, and remember that question of why people don't leave reviews is because they don't know how to do it and where to go and what to do. This takes all that confusion and frustration out of it. Next slide, please. And then if we rewind for a second, what happens if someone presses the thumbs down button and that they said that they had a bad experience? And it does happen time and time again. Well, guess what we don't want them to do? We, of course, don't want them to then go to that next page to then be able to post a review on Google. So if you go to the next slide, what we do is we want to take that thumbs down experience and we want to handle it privately. So what's going to happen is instead of it opening up a window with all the different review platforms that we deemed most important to us, we are it's going to open up a feedback form. So we can now we can really prevent most of the bad reviews from going on any of the online review platforms, and we can be proactive at handling that in a proactive manner. In all of our studies and all of our use tests, the more proactive we are in asking for reviews, even if someone had a less than perfect review, we're then able to give them an avenue to voice if they have any frustrations or confusions and whatnot. So, but when we're really asking and being proactive for that feedback, most people are going to follow through the process. And we're able to, again, just take that negative feedback and address it in a very private manner. It's very hard to get 1-star reviews off of Google. Google actually also just launched another new feature that makes it a bit easier to get 1-star one-star reviews removed from your Google My Business profile, but it has to fall in line with their spam metrics. So if someone was to go to, say, XYZ law firm, and we can see the lawyer, we can see the review was kind of just either about a completely different business or there was profanities or slander in it. It provides us a good case to be able to fight that review and get that review removed. And all the time we've been doing this, about 99% of the folks that we are actively trying to get a 5-star review from, about 1% has bypassed the system and has completely went around the loop and just went to Google or one of the other platforms themselves to leave a review on their own time. So again, it does happen, but we know that putting a strategy in place is far more beneficial than having to worry about a potential 1-star review getting out there. Next slide, please. And then how do we help the folks that we're reaching out to remember? Next slide. And this is a really simple thing that we do. And what we're doing is we have a built-in email reminder system. So we're going to send out a series of 3 to 4 email drip sequences that are completely customized to any given business. It's your look and feel. It's the way you talk to your customers, and it's completely customized to you and your business. We send out normally a minimum of 3 emails on your behalf. They look like they're coming directly from your email address. If someone was to respond to them, it goes back to you all, and it's just 3 simple nudges, trying to ask politely for feedback. And we know that 90% of the conversions happen on that third and final review. So when that third and final review comes in, they're going to see an email that says, "Hey, this is the last time we're going to email you. Can you please leave us a review?" And that's where we see 90% of those conversions happening. Next slide, please. And then I mentioned this prior to. Then we also send out in parallel with the emails, we also send out a series of text message reminders. Text messages actually get about a 96% conversion rate in comparison to the emails, which can get anywhere from a 60 to a 70% conversion rate across the board, just because our phones are always by us, and it's just a quick, easy thing to open it up. You see the text message, you click the link, and then there's one other step in order to leave that to leave a review. And then another thing, next slide, please. And then another thing that we have is we build it into email signatures. So essentially what we saw prior, we can put a thumbs up, thumbs down button directly on your email signature for just to keep a pulse and to remind the folks that you might be emailing with that they are able to leave a review. This is also great for putting these thumbs up, thumbs down buttons on employee email signatures, because then essentially you can keep a pulse on making sure your employees are talking to potential clients or consumers, or current clients and consumers in a appropriate manner. It's very similar to when you see on the streets the bumper sticker that says "How's my driving?" It's essentially kind of that same mentality, if you will. Next slide, please. And then how else should you use reviews? So these are a few other ways that you are able to and you should take advantage of using your reviews right now. Next slide. And one of those is showcasing authentic reviews on your website. So one of the things that we also have in our service is what we call review stream. So we're going to be showing off in real time all of your 5-star reviews in real time directly on your website. So those are going to be streaming in real time. And then also, next slide, please. And then we're going to also spread the word on social media on your behalf. So this is a local business, a local employment agency that we work with, and you can see when a 5-star review comes in, what we do is we package that up. We make it look like the image that you see on screen, and we post that to their Facebook or their LinkedIn page. And you can see with the screenshot, it's getting a lot of engagements too. So not only is it content that's happening on the background without you having to do anything, but people are liking it, people are sharing it, people are then commenting it and chatting about their own specific feedback. It's prompting people to say, oh, I should go leave a review. And it's just giving some more credibility to your business. And it's just building out that trust and that authenticity. Next slide, please. And then once we started gathering customers' opinions, we provide the folks that we work with a really detailed analysis on feedback to really learn how to build a better business and really improve customer experience. Our service really flags any unhappy customers, so you can personally reach out to them and learn about what can have been done better and really rescue that relationship. And we flag those unhappy customers, but those unhappy customers don't get to go to that next step to get prompted to leave a review. So it's just internally flagged for us to then let the business owner know that they need to have some active outreach. And then to that point, next slide, please. And then all reviews are rolled up into one very clean dashboard. So here in the dashboard, you get to see internal feedback left by customers. The platform also pulls together all public online reviews for your business. And it enables you, the business owner to reply to and manage your reviews more effectively directly from the dashboard. Next slide, please. And the platform delivers email updates when new reviews are found to really help the business owner or the managers react faster wherever you are or whenever it happens. Next slide. And then what the best part about the entire service is you get to watch your reputation and at the same time revenue grow month over month, week after week, year over year. And you get to really get a good holistic view on your reputation across the board, because everyone really only ever thinks of reviewing reputation of Google or Yelp or Facebook, but it really spans. There are think of Zillow and think of Realtor.com and all the other industry-specific platforms that you may or may not even be thinking of. Next slide, please. And then these are just a couple of examples that we work with, some of the clients that we have worked with and currently work with in the past. This is a driving school. Next slide. This is a plastic surgeon that we work with. That you can also see in all these different metrics. It's very inevitable, or it's very obvious right when we start working with someone, because we're always on an upward up climb on getting their reputation score higher. Next slide. And then this is normally what we see when we first start working with a client is we're going to see a huge uptick in that first month or two, just because of there might be folks that haven't been targeted in X amount of time. So if you go to the next slide, similarly, you can see right when we started working with folks, it starts to build and starts to build. Next slide. Again, continuously is building momentum. Next slide. Next slide. And then next slide. And then this is one of our most recent clients that we work with. And in the course of 2 weeks, we've not only been able to get them over 20 new 5-star reviews, but they essentially went from no reviews and reputation out there to having what you see currently on screen. Next slide. And then review and reputation has always been important, but these are just a few recent headlines that I've been seeing in some of the news publications that I follow. So in Forbes, online reviews are the best thing that has ever happened to small businesses. Why positive reviews are so valuable to small businesses. Online reviews matter more during COVID than before, a new study has shown, simply because people now are really on their computers more often. They're searching, they're looking for whether it be delivery or whether it be different products or services. So again, if you think back to in the earlier, on one of the earlier slides, they're shopping around. And then what's interesting is 88% of customers trust online reviews, and nearly 9 out of 10 people trust online reviews as much as a personal recommendation. So long ago, the days when we needed just a personal recommendation, when if we know that 90% of people are simply trusting online reviews. So we essentially don't even really need to rely anymore on those more personal touch recommendations. Next slide, please. And then the question is, what is your current review situation? Next slide. And it's likely might not be what you think. So essentially, what we do is next slide, is we're happy to pull a review report for free. It's complimentary. And it will really, what we do is we do a deep web search across about 180 different review platforms. And we put that together into what we call a review report card. So this is a free report, something that is customized and is put together just for you. There's a very simple survey. If you go to www.levelupdigitalagency.com /let's find out. And we will get the notification, make sure everything's filled out completely. And what happens is, once we get that in-house, we will email you back your review and reputation. And for the people that do this by the end of day tomorrow, we're going to do a survey prize, and we're going to give away 6 months of review lead management and review and reputation for free. So I will, that is the end of the presentation. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to field some of those now.
Thank you very much, Tom. That was amazing. So well done, very comprehensive, and certainly startling to folks, I'm sure, who haven't really paid a lot of attention to not only what their own review profile looks like, but what is in fact possible to enhance their online review situation. We've had a number of comments come in, and I appreciate Jennifer, who says, as a consumer, I look for 4.3 rating and above. Then I read some reviews and look at some pictures before selecting a company. So I think that validates what you said early on, right?
Yep, exactly.
Janet said, what are some other tips for how a business should respond to a negative review that does get posted?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. So I can also provide, we have a tips and tricks guide on how to properly reply to a negative review, because I never get, there's a lot of business owners that get nervous or get afraid about negative reviews being out there. And it's actually to me, I look at it as a positive, right? So you can, of course, I always recommend the folks that we work with as being as authentic as possible in your response, and kind of not letting the best of not letting the best get to you, if you will. So not being aggressive and not trying to say they're wrong, they're wrong, they're wrong. Just trying to voice your point of view. And while you're doing that, people are reading negative reviews. I always am reading negative reviews. And then if I'm seeing a business owner, or if I'm seeing someone respond to it in a professional and eloquent type of way, it's giving more credibility to the business than have it if you just left that negative review out there. Also, if you take it a step further, you can be even more strategic in how you reply to negative reviews, with baking in some keywords. So say you're a landscaping company, if you will, and say someone might have had a less than perfect experience. Not only will you reply in an appropriate, in an eloquent, in a professional manner, and of course, voice your side of the story. But you can also bake in some of those keywords that we want to be ranking for. So if we want to be ranking for, say, landscaping in Dallas, we might want to, in somewhere, some shape and form that where it makes sense, we might want to include that that keyword directly in our response back. It's giving us an opportunity to give Google or give any of the other platforms more content, if you will, at the same time of making sure we are addressing and responding back. But any negative review that does get put on any platform, it is imperative to respond back and it be authentic and not just be kind of copy and paste. Let's just do the same thing over and over again, because that's something that people definitely take into consideration as well.
So I think you're saying, as an example, if there's a negative review and you want to bake in the keywords, you could say something like, we always strive to be the best landscaping company in Dallas, comma, however we are.
Exactly. Yep. And it's definitely also good to add an email address too. Say if you have like a support email address, like support@xyz.com, and we'll be happy to take care of you or handle you. And frankly, I mean, this is anecdotal, because we have had a few of the folks that we work with come to us and say, oh my God, there is a negative review out there. How should I address this? And I just say, see if you can get on the phone and talk with them. That goes a long way. And we've actually seen reviews change from a 1 to maybe not a 5, but maybe it changed from a 1 to a 4. Just simply by kind of getting on the phone or sending a nice email, or and just kind of hearing that consumer, hearing them out, and trying to address and solve their issue. Because essentially people are just trying to hide behind a screen to leave a negative review, and it just makes it that much easier this day and age.
I've always wondered what it meant to see the notation Google verified purchase or Google verified review. What is the significance of that? What does that mean? That Google is actually doing a follow-up phone call or contact to the reviewer to say, hey, did you really do this? Or is there any significance to that?
Yeah, so that's primarily for e-commerce. So if people are buying products online, we can, and if the business has a Google Analytics account and certain what's called a UTM tag. So it's essentially like an API tag. So Google knows that, say you're going to go to a jewelry store in downtown Providence, and you're going online, you get to the jewelry store, you make a purchase. Google then knows, because of their analytics, that you did make a purchase because it's tied to your Gmail account. So then if the business was to then request or reach out to you to ask for a review, Google can then tie it together and say, oh, this person made a purchase on their website and this email address is the same as that purchase. So they're essentially tying it together and they're saying that's a verified purchase in a reviewer.
It's certainly very difficult to outsmart Google, huh?
It sure is. I know. It's yeah, you have to feed the robot beast, and at times it can be daunting.
So, on your own particular website, like I've seen different, websites where the reviews are so, grammatically correct and they all kind of sort of have the same tone, which to me is sort of a red flag. Like these aren't really reviews. These are just, these are reviews that have been stuffed there, or fake reviews from the website owner.
Yep.
Is that something that folks should watch out for?
Yeah, so we always try to take the approach of trying to get authentic. There are, because I see it time and time again, people will either write their own reviews for their website and paste it in without knowing if it's authentic or not. That's why if you can get a certain plugin or a piece of code that can be dropped onto a website, so it can be pulling your reviews from whether it be Facebook or from Google or from any of the other platforms. In our system, we use Review Stream. So what's happening is it's going to update automatically. So people are able to click those reviews and it essentially brings them directly to where that review was left for them to then see it's a real review. And not only will it be a review from a few weeks ago, you don't have to worry about continuously refreshing new reviews time and time again.
Mm-hmm. Well, fantastic. This has been a great session, Tom. We really appreciate it. I want to give you one more chance to promote the special offer that you have so generously put forth today for a free website review and the survey.
Sure. Yeah. So it is, if you go to levelupdigitalagency.com and then it's / let's find out. Let's find out. And then it will prompt you to fill out a short form. And then you have until tomorrow, close of business day, and then we will draw the survey prize winner.
Fantastic. So everybody, let's find out. Take Tom up on his offer, and that's a great way to end our webcast. We have been live on Facebook, live on Twitter, and live on YouTube. These slides will be made available continuously on the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce website, profchamber.com. Tom, we thank you for coming back again to share some of your deep knowledge and expertise. And
of course,
we look forward to seeing you the next time.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you all.